Hi, welcome back to English Language Paper 1, question 4 this time. We are going to focus on question 4, which is a question that examines your ability to look at a particular idea or statement and express your opinion using relevant quotes, lots of reference to language and structure. 20 marks available, so you should be spending 20 minutes minimum on this question. In your response, you should, and it gives you those 3 bullet points. Again, please refer to those bullet points if you are stuck in the exam. Just be reassured that you will always find those 3 bullet points with question 4 as well. So let's look at the mark scheme in a little bit more detail. So I've summarized for you what the mark scheme is all about. There we go, over here. And here you can see there are 4 areas that the mark scheme focuses on. Not only do you have to show an understanding of the writer's methods, that means language and structure, not only do you use a range of relevant quotes, not only do you actually use statements about how it affects the reader, you also have to explain a convincing opinion of yours in reaction to the statement. So we're going to now look at the source again about the bed and breakfast, and we're going to look at a sample student exemplar answer in regards to this question over here. So let's quickly open up a student exemplar. Here we go. It says, I agree with the statement that suggests the landlady and the bed and breakfast seem creepy. Now, as we can see in the actual exam question, to what extent do you agree? I've heard a lot of teachers who've mentioned that it's fantastic for you to agree all the time. But I think you should err on the side of caution. Only agree if you feel that you want to agree, only disagree if you feel that you want to disagree. It is a question. You need to show your opinion. It's highly likely that the statement will be a statement that obviously you'll need to agree to. But if it isn't, use your wise judgment, read the statement, read the text, and really think to yourself, do I agree or disagree? And then answer it. Right, let's get back to the question. Exemplar. I agree with the statement that suggests the landlady and the bed and breakfast seem creepy. So always make sure when you're in the exam hall that you actually annotate the answer, annotate your essay question, because once you annotate the essay question, that is your answer. That is your plan, essentially. So, for example here, focus this part of your answer on paragraphs 4, 5, and 6. A student said, I think it's clever how the writer makes the bed and breakfast and the landlady seem creepy. Well, creepy is the key word there. You need to use it to show whether you agree or disagree with that statement. And be careful, it will tell you an area to focus on. So here, focus this part of your answer on paragraph such and such. It might tell you focus from lines such and such to the end. Always think carefully, have I annotated my essay question? Do I know where I'm supposed to get my quotes from? Otherwise, if you randomly get it from paragraphs 1 and 2, you've got 0 marks. Right. Let's get back to that exemplar. How is the landlady and bed and breakfast looking a bit creepy? So the student clearly uses a statement in the first answer. You can see the keywords. I agree with the statement that suggests the landlady and the bed and breakfast seem creepy. It's really good to show the examiner that you understand the statement and you are using indeed the statement's keywords. This is evidently presented in, and you're presenting the examiner that you know which lines or which paragraphs you've been told to focus on. So just repeat that in your actual essay response. There is an eerie simile describing the bed and breakfast sign as being, quote, like a large black eye staring at him. So this is where you start to get points for your analysis of the writer's methods to create a creepy quality. The idea of a three-eyed thing staring at you with the connotations of darkness and danger is an unsettling image in the 4th paragraph. This clearly makes the bed and breakfast seem creepy. See, notice how the student is repeating the essay question's keyword, linking back to the question really well. So let's just make sure we highlight that as well. That's a good example there of linking back to the question. Let's continue. Furthermore, you need to use these paragraph connectives to show the examiner that you are organizing your analysis and evaluation of the statement. Furthermore, paragraph 5 focuses on the unnatural, creepy speed with which the landlady answers the bed and breakfast door. So make your point very clear. Okay, you need to show your ideas, your response to the statement. It's not a test on, oh, do you know your similes and metaphors? And do you know your nouns and verbs? No. You don't get any marks for just saying a noun has been used. Okay? You need to explain the ideas presented about the bed and breakfast and the lady. Do you agree with the idea of it being creepy? And then you look at the quotes. And then you look at the quotes you've used and if they are using indeed a wide range of language and structural devices. Let's continue. Furthermore, paragraph 5 focuses on the unnatural, creepy speed with which the landlady answers the bed and breakfast door. The third-person narrator repetitively refers to how at once the landlady had swung the door open. So there we go, some language terminology there. The violent verb. Zoom into that quote. Analyze one key word. Consider its connotations. Creates a disturbing sense of danger and an imposing sense of doom to surround the bed and breakfast, as well as the landlady's presence. So that's good language analysis. And repetition is obviously structure. Narrative is also linked with structure. Nevertheless, there are creepy references to childish toys, such as a jack-in-a-box. This simile has been used to link the landlady with a creepy sense of shock, as most children are shocked when they play with a jack-in-the-box toy. There is a creepy sense of control that the landlady and the bed and breakfast seem to have over Billy, as the bold italic font emphasizes the landlady's power. Remember, the font used, the size of the writing, capital letters, these are all important. These pronouns, him, create a startling sense of confusion and mystery as we don't know much about the landlady. However, she has a supernatural quality. It looks as though she has been preparing for Billy's arrival, as she states how she knew about Billy seeing the notice in the window. She also mentions how a room is all ready for you, my dear. This dialogue begs the question: is the landlady a supernatural, unworldly witch, or a sweet landlady? There is a creepy juxtaposition between the description of the landlady's welcoming appearance and the unwelcoming bed and breakfast setting. In addition, there we go, that comparative connective there. There is a continued creepiness, so referring back to the question throughout, associated with the bed and breakfast, and the landlady through the growing power it holds over Billy. The last paragraph presents the landlady's creepy power, as she simply holds the door wide open to find Billy's dehumanizing response. We're going to look at that. How is it dehumanized? As he automatically walked into the house. It's good to use short embedded quotes. It really shows off your understanding of the specific techniques used. The semantic field of control is used heavily in the last paragraph, as there are references to compulsion, the desire to follow, being extraordinarily strong. This in turn reminds the reader of the eerie setting presented in paragraph 4. So you should be comparing between paragraphs in the text to show the examiner you've been looking at the differences between the beginning and the middle and the end, which is structure, and zoom into those quotes for their word classes and language techniques. The narrator does seem to use hyperbole quite heavily in paragraph 5, at it seems to once again focus on a trivial thing being accomplished, a doorbell being answered by its owner. The narrator establishes an exaggerated sense of peculiarity over the landlady's speed through a subordinate clause. Remember the sentence types? You get marks for that, so talk about sentence types. It must have been at once. The narrator's uncertainty, so narrative techniques, over her speed suggests to the reader that the narrator is no longer reliable. So this is a good student exemplar. I'm going to keep it here for a good 2 seconds, and then we're going to look at a sheet where I've listed quite a few structural techniques, because most students tell me, oh, I'm okay with language, but I don't actually know any structural techniques. So let's look at this sheet instead. It's called the Never Heard the Word Grid. and students are encouraged to really assess for themselves which words they do know and which words they don't know. And here we go. It's quite an extensive list there of structural devices to look out for, and you get marks for analysing, not just, oh, there is the use of a change of tone. You need to link it back to effect on the reader, and especially important, please link it to the question and how it shows creepiness in this instance. Whatever the question is for question 4, link it back, the beginning and the end. And here are the last few words for structure: unconventional, stereotypical characters, reported speech, and so on. Thank you.